into the night where the paranormal unite. A party like never before under the moon's airy light. The vibe is dark, the air is cold, spirits taking flight. Get haunted and ghost, the magazine leading the fright. Ghosts and ghouls dancing hand in hand, lost souls roaming the haunted land. On the battleship New Jersey we gather with glee. Horror and paranormal, a sight to see.
Oh, sorry, we had Mike issues, but welcome to All Things Paranormal, the podcast show. I'm Mike. This is Adam. We're two brothers, Extreme Paranormal. And as that video that you just witnessed, October 26th, the first annual Supernatural Soiree in Camden, New Jersey, on the Battleship New Jersey. Tickets are on sale right now. And Get Haunted and Ghosted magazine have been putting on one hell of a plan for this event. We can't wait.
It's going to be crazy.
We're going to be there.
Yeah.
They're going to have a live DJ, which is a good friend of ours from Connecticut, DJ Ghost. He's going to be spinning the ones and twos, playing all that amazing music.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be a cash bar. There's going to be tons of entertainment all night long, special guests. And, of course, they're going to be live streaming the whole event all night long. So definitely get your tickets. Go over to supernaturalstory.com, purchase those tickets now, and we will see you there.
Yeah, come meet us.
Yeah. We can't wait. We're going to party all night long.
Oh, yeah.
It goes from like 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. on a battleship.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Battleship.
And Halloween weekend, you can't go wrong with that.
No,
That's going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
So, tonight now, we have a good friend of ours. Her name is Michele Wilkins Palmieri. She's a medium. She's an author. And she has been featured on a TV show called The Scariest Night of My Life. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Michele Wilkins Palmieri to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
How are you? I'm doing okay.
That's good.
Hanging in there.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight and joining us.
Yes,
we're very excited to talk with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Not a problem. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So like you said, I'm a psychic medium. I've written a book called Voices of Angels, Messages from Loved Ones in Heaven. And basically the book is divided into chapters, and each chapter tells a different story of a different person that I worked with, right? The meat of the book, I like to call it the meat of the book, or the center chapters of the book deal with an experience I had in Sandy Hook, with somebody that I worked. Yeah, ended up being brought there by the children and meeting one of the parents at the graveside, and was able to deliver a message to her. So and that's in this story.
That's
but
special.
I also do a little ghost hunting.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, so do we.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
I like the Sandy Hook thing. My aunt-in-law, her kids were in the school. They did survive.
Sandy Hook touches home to all of us, as that was from Sandy Hook, Connecticut.
Absolutely.
A lot of children and a couple teachers lost their life in a tragic event, but that's such an amazing thing that you're able to help a family out with that.
It was awesome.
Yeah, and I knew nobody down there. I don't know if you want me to tell briefly. I knew nobody in Sandy Hook, and at the time, I happened to be home that day, and I started getting, so I've had this gift all my life, where I would get messages, and most of the messages I always received were for like family members, right? So my family knew, oh my God, if Michele got a message, or Michele dreams about you, watch out, right? So it was unusual for me to be getting information coming into me that I wasn't sure where it was coming from, right? So I was getting things like MLA, I was getting yellow Tonka trucks, I was getting, there are just quite a few things that were coming in. One of the significant pieces of information that came to me was I was getting the feeling of a little boy and a little girl who were twins. And I felt like the little girl was worried about her brother, right? So at the time, I have no idea what's happening. I'm writing all this down, and I'm very big on providing evidence, right? So I have a notebook with everything in it. That's my big thing. So, you know, as the day progresses, I find out, I get a knock on the door because I'm at home. I didn't know what was happening. I get a knock on the door. It was my neighbor, and literally it must have just happened. He was an EMT, and he's like, Michelle, I locked myself out of the house. I have to get down to Sandy Hook. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so he told me. And so I started, you know, watching and listening. And that first day, they weren't releasing information. They weren't releasing names, right? So we didn't know. And at the time, I was working with my friend Maureen, who she was like my mentor, and she kept saying, Michelle, there's a reason you're getting this information. We need to go there. And I'm thinking, why do I need to go there? I don't know anybody. Yeah. And so long story short, as the week progressed, right, the next day they start releasing information, and I'm piecing things together little by little. So I'm getting MLA, and of course it's Emily Parker, right? And her father had been teaching her in the morning the language of her grandmother, which I believe was Polish, or something along that line. Anyhow, but that would make sense of why her grandmother was coming through saying Emile instead of Emily. The yellow Tonka trucks, I wasn't sure what that meant, but then, you know, what was the other part of that? It was the yellow Tonka trucks. I'm sorry, I lost my.
That's okay. No problem.
So the little boy and the little girl. We found out that there was Noah Posner, who was a twin, and his sister Ariel was in another classroom. I had no idea. Yeah. So long story short, we end up going to Newtown, not knowing where we're going or what we're looking for. When I feel energy, I get very kind of nauseous sometimes, depending on what the energy is. So we're driving, and I just kept saying, there's something on the left-hand side. There's something on the left-hand side. As we went around the corner, a little tiny cemetery. I'm not going to say the name just for privacy reasons. Yep. You know, most people know where it is anyways, but so there was a little cemetery up on the left-hand side. And we pulled in and drove to the back, and there were little yellow Tonka trucks on the graveside.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, got out of the car, and you record, right? You record while you're doing these things. So we're having a conversation, we're bouncing off each other, talking, and we're talking and saying what we're feeling. And Lorraine's like, I feel somebody, I felt like this little child was hugging my leg. And I said, you must have been so scared. And I heard the little boy say, no, I wasn't scared. I was brave. Couldn't really make sense of it at first, but then we look up, literally, Mike and Adam, we look up, and there's a woman walking towards us, and she puts her hand out and she says, hi, I'm Scarlett Lewis. I'm Jesse's mother.
Whoa, wow.
And so, we relayed this message to her, and she said, oh yeah, and if you read about Jesse, he was considered a hero.
Yep. Yes, he was.
And so that's why he was saying, no, I was brave, right? So needless to say, that was a whole experience that really changed my life.
That's crazy. Now, Damian Smith is on the side, and he just commented he has a question for you that he would like you to answer. How often do you rely on your abilities on investigations? Do you become a target for spirits? Oh, yeah. Yes. And actually, Mike, you had referred me to somebody one time. Yep. And after I went to this person, and actually, I believe, became physically ill after that. Yes.
After a visit there.
I actually had to have a wellness check on the person. I had to call the police department. I ended up doing a wellness check on that person. I'm not going to give any names or locations, but there was definitely something going on in that house that I felt as soon as I walked in. And it wasn't good. No, and we took pictures while we were there, and in the TV set, I don't know if I told you this, in the TV set, this face showed up, and it looked like a high school portrait. And I remember, asking the person, I said, is there like a famous missing person case in this town, or is there something? And she's like, oh,
Yeah, and she told me the girl's name. I Googled it, and the picture that showed up in her TV set was the exact picture that was on the internet of this girl. So there is a connection there.
Yeah. So just to give everybody a background story of the place.
I know. I'm sorry. I kind of went off a little bit.
It's totally fine because I love talking about this stuff. We're not going to say names. We're not going to give location of the place, but it was in Connecticut, and this family was dealing with something that we weren't sure. Of course, they thought right off the bat demonic. A lot of people think that because of bad things that were happening, but we don't personally think it was demonic. But the husband was being affected. They had a phone call between the daughter and her boyfriend, and as soon as the boyfriend put the phone down and walked away to help his grandmother for a second, a voice came through and said, "I want the daughter." And she was like, "Hello, who's this? Who's this?" And nobody was there. And then he came back and she goes, "Did you just say something to me?" And he goes, "No, I walked away to help my grandmother." So there was just these things that were happening in this home. And I think we went there twice.
2 times.
Or 3 times. It might have been 3 times. And we had Michelle. We contacted Michelle to help us out with this. There's a couple other people we had join us and help us on this investigation. Mm-hmm. But it got to the point where there was one day where the owner contacted me through text message and couldn't spell out the full message. She kept saying, "Oh, this thing's trying not to have me spell this out." And I ended up calling the town and cops, and I had a wellness check sent there, and supposedly everyone was okay, but she was just disoriented. She was very upset, doesn't know what's going on. To be honest with you, we haven't heard from them since. I've tried contacting them a couple months ago, no response. So unfortunately, we don't know what's going on with them. I'm hoping they got out of the house and moved, or
I hope they're okay
somehow. Yeah, but I hope they're all right. Let's just put it that way.
It's very real.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
It's very real. It could be very scary, and that's you ask about being physically or psychically or spiritually attacked, and it does happen, and that's why I really want people to be careful when they're doing these things. We need people like you doing the work, getting the evidence and doing what you do. That's so important, and it's also important to teach people how to deal with this stuff too.
Yep.
When they're in it.
It's not like these TV shows. Like everyone thinks, oh no, it gets pretty hectic. It gets kind of crazy and you feel bad for the people after a while that deal with this on a daily basis at their home.
Absolutely.
But also, we just had another question come in from a good friend of ours, Wade. He wants to know, what are your thoughts or feelings about being at a location and having your ears or one ear continuously ring?
Yeah. I would have that experience walking through different places, especially like a mall. Nobody else would hear it, and I would be picking up that high-pitched sound, and they would tell me that it was the alarm, but I shouldn't be hearing it. So I think what you're picking up on something, obviously something's trying to communicate with you, or you're so sensitive that you're able to hear something that maybe other people can't hear.
I definitely have to agree with that. I mean, there's other ways too that our body sometimes experiences things when we're out on investigations. It could be a simple pain in the chest or something on the back, and then go to find out someone was stabbed or someone was punched on location from the past life. So
I forgot which location it was. We went to.
It was Mid-Orange, where you felt like Rolling Hills, where you felt like you were stabbed in the stomach.
Yeah,
that was Rolling Hills.
It literally felt like I was getting stabbed, and I was like, "Mike, I think you're gonna have to bring me to the hospital because I think something's wrong." And he goes, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I feel like I'm getting stabbed." Like that's the only way to explain it. And it's not like a stab and pull the knife out. It was like a stab and twisting this knife, and I walked outside and it went away. And come to find out. We were in.
Yeah, someone was stabbed there.
Someone was stabbed in their stomach.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can physically feel sometimes, right? And I know for myself, I get it all different ways: sight, sound, taste, smell. I get the whole gamut,
Yep. That's why, one of the things we do on our investigations right off the bat is we like to use our senses. We learned this from Danny and Rob and Sarah from Dale Haunted, and basically we go into a room and then see how our body and how the building talks to us. And that's how we start off our investigations to see we do from there, basically.
Yeah, we like do an hour of going around. Like if it's a small place, we'll do 1 hour. We'll walk around the building. We'll sit in this room for 10 minutes. Like say there's 10 rooms or 6 rooms. We'll sit in there 10 minutes each.
And just see what our body tells us.
Right. Oh yeah, you definitely can feel.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Feel negative energy. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So, what age did you start to realize that you had these abilities?
Well, I think when I was younger, I thought that everybody had them, right? So I thought everybody felt the way I did, or everybody, I had an imaginary friend. I knew, his name was Junior, but I could tell everybody, yeah, I could tell people where he lived and how he died when he was young, the whole bit. And my mother would just be like, oh yeah, she has an imaginary friend, and they would just kind of laugh it off. But it was like, this was a little boy that I really felt would come to, visit me. He would come out and play. He would go shopping, whatever we would be doing. So I thought everybody had one. And, I could remember, you probably know this feeling, we had a 2-family house and my grandparents lived downstairs and we lived upstairs. And I can remember calling my mother because I would feel people would be trying to get me walking through the hallway. So I would call my mom and say, I'm coming upstairs, stand at the top of the stairs and turn on the light. I would run, but literally feel like, there were people trying to get my attention. And how do you say that? How do you say that as a child to your family? Well, I think people are trying to get my attention. They're trying to get me to stop and talk to them. And,
Yeah, that's tough.
And that I was young. I was probably like 7 or 8.
Wow.
But then,
yeah.
And I didn't
they
really
finally realize that something was going on. Like that they.
Yeah. Well, because then I started noticing, Mike, that things that I would write about in my journal would come true.
Okay.
Or something I would say, like, I would say something and somebody else would just happen. Or more, I think for me, it was more dreams. I had a dream one time that so I had this dream one night. I'm sleeping and I see this woman in a casket. And all I hear is somebody saying, oh, Tony, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Tony. So immediately I'm thinking, okay, Tony, my husband, I'm thinking it must be his mother. Well, his mother was fine. About a week later, my sister-in-law, her mother passed, and she has a brother named Tony. Right? So it's some of it's interpretation, but that's how it goes. Or, I had one night I'm sleeping and I didn't have a real close relationship with my father's mother. And in the middle of the night, I'm sleeping and I get this dream, which I now know was a visitation. I hear her come to me and she says, I always loved you, even though I didn't show it. And all of a sudden my phone rang and I picked up the phone and I said, Grandma died? And my mother's like, how did you even know? I said, she just came to me in a dream, So just things like that. And how do you explain that?
Yeah, no, that's tough. That's a situation that, especially when you're young,
yeah,
it's a real hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, but it was always just a natural attraction. I think most of us who get into this, right, it's just kind of this natural attraction, or we're drawn into it for some reason that we can't explain.
Yeah,
that same thing happened to my wife with her grandmother. She was sleeping. I got the phone call. And I woke her up, and she goes, yeah, Nana died. I know.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, how do you know? She goes, she came to me while I was sleeping.
Yeah.
I was always wondering too, like, I've talked to a couple mediums in the past, and my question was like, do you think most of it happens while you're sleeping, or like at that frame, because you're relaxed and that's when people try to contact you? Like, I've talked to mediums before, and they say it's always why they try to sleep, that people will come to them, or they'll have dreams and all that. And I'm so curious about it, because that's a good amount of people that have told me that.
Oh yeah. And I think it's the same thing for people who don't necessarily have a gift. When they say their loved ones come to them, it's usually easier for them to come to them when they're in that state of sleeping.
Yeah.
Right. You're more open to it. Your defenses aren't up. You're vulnerable. So yeah, I agree with that. And I think, For myself, I've learned you have to learn how to shut it off sometimes, because otherwise I would never sleep. I would be up all night, or I would be, sitting here talking to you and there's 10 people in the background, and you have to learn to shut it off. And I've practiced that so that when I go to sleep at night, they don't bother me. Usually, some people, I do say though, some clients have family members who are very pushy and show up at weird times. But they will bother me when I'm trying to sleep, and it's funny. It's funny.
Wow. Yeah. So here's another question I have for you. What do you think is the most challenging aspect of being a medium, and how do you overcome it?
I think there's a few, right? I think there's this part of our clients. There's people that want to think that there's some kind of party trick to this, or they want to think that there's some kind of secret that we're just not telling them, right? So I work really hard to try and overcome that with people, or to show them, right, to have integrity, and to show them that this isn't a parlor trick, right? Because you have to have mutual respect. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I find that difficult, because I like people to take it seriously, right?
Yes.
And I think there, yes, definitely there's entertainment in this. There's people who want to be entertained, they pay to be entertained, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you really need the help, you need to know who you're dealing with. So that, I find that a challenge, because there are people that will come and they're expecting something different, and then after they sit with me, it's not that they're disappointed, but they're just like, wow, I really thought this was going to be different. I really thought you were going to, come out here with the crystal ball and no.
Yeah.
So maybe to answer the question is trying to overcome the stigma. Maybe is that
that's true. Yeah, that's very true.
Maybe that's right.
Yeah,
but
that's another thing with people seeing TV and movies and thinking, oh, she has a crystal ball she talks into, or that's one thing. Like, we try to realize that it's a whole different experience than what people think it is.
And even you mentioned earlier the show, right? The Scariest Night of My Life. And I told my story. I went and I told my story because I did live through a haunting. And people watch it and they're like, oh my God, like, how could you have handled that? I said, well, first of all, it's TV, right? My dog, they made a German Shepherd, and my dog is just a little dog, but it wouldn't have been so scary if my little dog, right? If my little dog was going crazy. And, there was a scene where the bed was getting rocked around, and like they literally were rocking that bed around.
Okay.
Had that happened, it didn't happen that way. And I think it's important for people to realize too, it happens slowly, right? Like I compare it almost to the frog in the boiling water. You put them in the water and you kind of turn the heat up little by little, so you don't even realize all the time that this is happening to you.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, everything kind of comes together. Like, oh wow, okay.
Well,
and I think that's
a couple people asking some more questions too. That on this side.
Okay.
Let's see. We actually had one just pop up by a William Caffrey, and
which is my uncle.
Question is, are you able to pick up anything from either a phone call or a text message that has happened in the past, or does it have to be a visit with you?
I get asked that question a lot. I can read a person over the phone. I don't need to be with you. I can pick up your energy just by talking to you on the phone. And that's basically how I pretty much do my readings, is either on the phone or a video call. I do some in person, but energy doesn't, and your loved ones, they don't need you to be in the same room with them. They can communicate through me, and I'm able to pick that up and give that information to you. So I don't know if that answers your question, but no, you don't have to physically be in the same room with me. I am able to do it with phone calls or text message.
which you have done with my mother, and it's been amazing. She appreciates all the work that you've done with her.
Yeah.
And then you also did with my boss, my best friend Danielle too. You helped her out a lot, and anyone that's interested in contacting her, you guys can send her a private message afterwards. She's in Connecticut, but she's on Facebook, and it's definitely worth it. Everyone, she does an amazing job. You do a great job.
Thank you.
Now,
can I give my email address, or my phone number is fine too, if you want to get that out.
If you want to shoot out your email address, you can give your
so
email address.
my email is healingmedium1@gmail.com. So that's healingmedium, the number 1 @gmail.com. And you can call or text me 860-834-3559, and I will gladly speak with you.
Awesome. Definitely.
That's my uncle and aunt.
Oh, William's your uncle?
Yeah. Caffrey.
Oh, nice. So I have another question too from Damian Smith. He goes, do you have a ritual or a habit before you leave for the location?
Yeah. So my thing is, I believe as long as I'm in the light and I'm my intention is to do good, I feel that I'm protected. I always know that for me, my protection comes from God. Everybody has something different that they believe protects them, and that's fine. But for me, it's God. So I usually will say the Our Father, which I was taught and told by, well, I don't know if I can say the name, but by somebody who well-known, who said the Our Father was one of the strongest prayers that you can say. So I've always held on to that information that she gave me. And I will use that. But I try to be in a positive mindset. I think that's important, because if I'm in a bad mood, or if I'm, stressed out, it's not good for me to put myself in a situation. So that's one of the things, making sure I'm in the right frame of mind. So I don't know. I wouldn't say that I have so much a ritual as just making sure that I'm in a good place. I ask to be shown what needs to be shown, what needs to be told to the person for their highest good.
Yep. That's like the same thing for us too when we go on investigations. Yeah. We have opening, we have closing prayers. We both have chains that have been blessed. I believe by the Michael is one of my favorites. So we do opening and closing prayers all the time.
Yeah, and mediums. Since we have you on the show, we were at a Paracon in Massachusetts, and there was a couple across to the right. She was a medium, and her husband was there, and their sign kept on falling. So I went over to help give them some tape.
Yeah.
And I went over, and the lady goes, I just wanted to let you know your son's going to be all right. And I said, my son? I was like, what do you mean? She goes, someone told me that your son's going to be all right. And that day that we were there, my wife was having the IVF process. And they were taking the egg from the dish and inserting into her.
Wow.
And like, I sat back down, and I got a message from my wife that the procedure went well. And I went back over to the lady, and I said, how'd you know? And she goes, someone, I don't know who, came through and said that I had to tell you that your son was going to be all right. Now, mind you, we didn't know what it was.
Right.
So then comes the gender reveal, and it was a boy. So
that was crazy.
And
that's beautiful.
Right before, well, not right before then, but about 2 years before that, I had lost my dad. So I was like, oh well, I bet you it was my dad. It was
your dad. Yeah. And our loved ones love to do that. They love to let us know that they're still aware of what's happening around us. And
and the lady said that Michael the Archangel said that he was watching over me and my baby, and there was a couple others.
Saint Michael's is definitely one of our protectors.
Yeah,
we use that a lot. That's why we use the opening and closing prayer with Saint Michael's.
Yeah.
But we got a couple more questions for you too. We got Mariah. Okay. She wants to know, which medium do you admire and respect?
Yeah. So, well, I know, right? So I don't know if we're talking about television or in real life. So in real life, I grew up paying attention to Lorraine Warren, right?
So same here. Yep.
So she was very inspirational to me. I feel very blessed that I was able to have a personal conversation with her at one point. But on television, I really liked John Edward. I feel like he was really good.
Yep.
And also, I don't know if anybody ever listened to Suzanne Northrup.
I've heard the name.
She was on 96.5 a lot.
Okay.
Gary Craig used to have her on the show, but she would come on there, and I've seen her in person a few times. But I just like the fact that they were down to earth, very real. They weren't putting on a show. They were just being human, right? And again, that goes back to, do you want to be entertained, or do you want to, have a real experience? And I prefer the more down to earth approach. And everybody's different. Everybody's different.
For me, it would have to be Chip Coffey.
Oh yeah,
I got to meet him personally in New Jersey, and we both did.
Yeah.
And nicest guy ever, and amazing the things that he can pick up on.
And the thing is like we did the Q&A, thing with him, and he sat down. He said, "Hey, I say it how it comes through. You don't like my language." He goes, "You can get the fuck out now." He goes, "Because what they tell me, I say it how they say it."
And he was nailing it too. He was picking random people out and just killing it.
People, and they were, and everything was dead on. There was no like being close. It was dead on. And after that day, I told Mike, I was like, that right there was amazing. Like, and brought more of my respect towards like the being a medium and stuff. How you can deal with that, like all the people coming through, no matter where you go.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And now Damien just asked another question, which I was actually just getting ready to ask you. He's reading my mind here. What advice would you suggest to someone just opening up abilities? Best way to fine tune them safely?
Yeah. I know that people have different ways of doing things, right? So I do a mentorship where I teach people. For me, I start with ethics. Right. I start with ethics because I think that's really important, having integrity and also kind of looking at yourself and what is it that you want to do with this. Right. I think that's really important because if you have this gift and you're running all over the place and you don't know what you're doing with it or what your goal is, I think it, that's misusing the power or that's not a good way to say it, but misusing your ability. Right. So I think it's really important that you get clear on what you want to do, get clear on, recognizing spirits, recognizing good, recognizing bad, understanding, like you were saying, how you sit with it and you feel. You have to learn how to sit with things and feel it and know what it is that you're communicating with. And that takes time. I think it takes time and it takes experience. And I think finding someone that you trust to work with is important because there are a lot of people, that will tell you, well, I've just seen it. I've seen it with people. But anyways, just, making sure that you're working with somebody that resonates with you, that kind of feels the same way you do, can help you to reach your goal.
Absolutely. Trust
Yeah.
is a big thing.
Trust, absolutely.
Especially in the paranormal. Trust and I mean,
well, right. You can't just have somebody come and sit them in a room and say, okay, guys, you're going to ghost hunt. I mean, you could,
no.
but right, is that responsible of you? And that's just like, I'm not going to have somebody come and try and learn how to communicate with spirits unless I know that they understand the risk and they understand, having some kind of integrity. I want to make sure that they're not going to do this and do it to harm somebody.
Absolutely.
Or even hurt themselves. So I just
that's
really
why
think
when we do these private public investigations, we did one up in New Hampshire. We like to tell people, that have never been on investigations before, what it's really like and what happens and what could happen, because it's not a joke. It's not for show. It's to show you that there is really an other side, and we do it through other methods. Everyone's different.
Right.
We have our way of how we do it. Other teams have their ways. You have your way. But it's not, again, about the television. No, that's the problem. YouTube or television is it's hurting right now. Everyone thinks it's this amazing scenario where an hour long you can get all this footage and all this clips, and it's not like that at all.
Yeah. It's not like that. You guys do a lot of hard work. You do a lot of hard work.
Yeah. We all do. We all do.
And when we started our little YouTube TV series thing, right off the rip, people said, well, this is boring. Nothing really happened. And, but it doesn't just happen, we don't walk in there, turn the switch on and go, hey, let's go.
Yeah.
We need TV. We need video evidence. Move
and
that,
sometimes, and sometimes you have hours of recording, right? And then just to maybe get like 30 seconds of something or a minute of something in total, but you've sat there for hours talking and getting information. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think people need to know the reality of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
A good friend of ours, Thomas, he has a question for you.
Okay.
I love all these questions coming on. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Awesome.
Do you ever feel overwhelmed emotionally when you meet a living person to the point where you have to step back? A person so connected to the other side.
So are you asking if I'm overwhelmed by just people in general when I meet them, or am I overwhelmed by a person who's connected to the other side? Right?
He said as a follow-up, if so, do you feel that person may have the ability to be a medium or a psychic?
Okay. All right. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I see it. I
see
what it meant.
I get it now. Okay.
There, yeah.
So let me think about that for a minute, because I think there is this feeling sometimes of people who you recognize somebody who has a gift as well. But there's different levels, right? People are at different levels, or some people are just starting, some people are this, and some people aren't even aware that they have a gift. So I've had it happen where I have met people who aren't even aware they have a gift and are just giving off so much of everything, right? They're just, it's off the charts. And I'm like, whoa, okay, you need to rein this in. We need to rein this in. And then, and actually I had a student that happened with, and she is just amazing. But she doesn't want to do anything with it. But this girl is amazing. She has so much, so much ability. But I have it too with people, just regular people walking down the street. There will be people that, I cannot go near because something just is hitting me the wrong way, whether it's a negative feeling or sometimes you don't know what it is, but you get bombarded.
Yeah.
So.
Now, have you ever dealt with any negative situations on any of your cases? And how have you dealt with that?
Okay. Yeah. But it's interesting that from the time I experienced the haunting and the way I would deal with it, because I was, not very informed on things, I was experiencing the haunting, and the way I deal with things now are very differently. And it has to do with having more confidence, right? And being able to I guess having that clarity, like I talked about earlier, and understanding, right, the purpose of what does negative energy want to do? Negative energy, they want to defeat you, right? So they're going to start knocking you down. Whether it's negative energy from a spirit or negative energy from a person, wherever it's coming from. So I think it's important to, be able to recognize that. So when those things start to happen, you nip it in the bud right away, right? So immediately you're like, okay, something's not right. And then you from there, you're like, okay, how do I need to handle this?
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, no, you did. It's just a question of myself because I've always wanted to know, like, how, like, when a medium goes into a place where it's a bad situation, like, how do you guys go through a lot? I mean, I could see the things that come through your head and the things that you experience, and I've always wanted to know that, like, how do you deal with it, like, on a case, like, how do you try to get rid of it? Is there certain ways you try to get rid of it, or how do you deal with the family telling them, like, that kind of thing? I'm always intrigued by it.
Yeah. So it's being very aware of my feeling. Like you, I think you said this earlier, when you walk into a place, if I start to get really nauseous, I'm like, oh, something's not right. Right. So the more aware I am, the less ability it has to attack me. Right. Because I'm aware. I and I think that's really important, because if you're not aware, then again, right. So maybe I feel a little nauseous and I keep going, and then, oh no, maybe it's my head. And then the next thing I know, I'm being physically attacked or spiritually attacked. And so I think the more aware you are, you can stop it. And again, I've had it happen where I have left a place and have become violently ill after.
That was actually my next question too, is like, have you ever dealt with it where afterwards, like taking it home with you, or felt after effects?
Oh yeah.
From the case?
Yeah. Violently ill, vomit, with the stomach and all that. But I've also had it happen where the I don't know if you want to call it an entity or the spirit actually reached out to me in the middle of I was sleeping in the middle of the night, and I heard, and it's interesting because my dog reacted at the same time I did. So we both heard it at the same time. It was like this crash. And I heard this voice tell me, don't go back there. You can't go back. Yeah. And literally almost making me promise that I would not go back there. And that was kind of scary, because, to promise that I'm not going to go back and help somebody, right? But yet to also have that fear for your life, or fear for harm coming to you.
Not only did you deal at their place, but then you also brought it home. You're dealing with stuff at home too. That's tough.
Yeah. And that's scary when you bring something home with you.
Yeah. Been there, done that.
And you try not to. I mean, obviously you try not to. You say your prayers. You say you can't come with me. Yep. You do you brush off. You do all that kind of stuff. And sometimes they still do come home with you. And that's another reason why I always tell people, please be careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
The time that you brought something home, me and another buddy of ours went to go help get rid of it, and then it got rid of it to him, and then jumped over to me.
So it attached from one person to the next person. Yeah. It was a crazy scene.
And the crazy thing is, it knew what it was doing, because where he got it, I grew up.
Fort William Henry and Lake George, New York.
Wow.
And I grew up in Warrensburg, which, I would go up there all the time. My family's from there. And it knew, it's like it knew that I was from there. And I kept on having dreams that I need to go home. Wow. And I called him. I was like, dude, I don't know what's going on, but I think... He's like, oh, then we'll just take a ride. And it went away. It needed a ride back home. Wow. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes that's what they need. And people laugh, because I have said at times that I've done therapy with ghosts or with spirits. And sometimes you do. It is like a form of therapy a lot of times that you're doing with the spirit, to get them to, accept what has happened, or sometimes they need to tell somebody something, they need to apologize, in some ways you're a therapist.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now we have a question coming in from Laura for you.
Okay.
What do I do when I put in public and spirit will say, "Excuse me, ma'am, what do you do?" And I have 5 different conversations with people when trying to sleep. How do I shut it off?
Okay. So when you're in public, you're hearing spirits speaking to you when you're in public. Okay.
That's what it
So
sounds like, yeah.
right, and
And then
then different
when she's trying
conversations
to
while you're
sleep.
trying to go to sleep. I think in public it's really difficult. I have a hard time in public because there is so much going on, so much happening. But you have to remember, you can set a boundary. And that's what I had to learn. I had to learn how to set boundaries. And it's okay to say to a spirit or, to say to them, now's not a good time. You can't talk to me now, or you can't talk to me when I'm with my children, or you can't talk to me when my grandchildren are here, whatever it is for you. Or this is my time right now, and whether or not you want to say, I'll talk to you later, that's up to you. Or you can say, I can't talk to you. But I think you have to get really good at setting your boundaries. And I know for me, a lot of times I will say, kind of what I just said. I'll be with my granddaughter and something's coming through and I'm like, I can't talk to you right now. I'm with my granddaughter. But for me, I will say, but I promise you, I will listen to you a little later.
Okay.
And that seems to help. That seems to help. But again, it's getting control over yourself.
Yes.
I think is important.
Absolutely.
Because again, I think that if somebody is feeling that way, I feel like maybe that's the way you are in life too, right? So if you're feeling that way, you're probably that way with everybody. So you have to learn to set your boundary with everybody, and then I think that in turn sets the boundary with the spirit. That makes sense?
Absolutely. She said she will try saying that. All right, Laura, You do it. You can do it.
Yeah, and let us know. I mean, I would love to know, Laura. You can reach out anytime. I mean, I love to answer questions for people. I love to help people if I can. It's not always about having an appointment with me. I tell people that all the time. You don't always have to have an appointment with me to have a conversation or to ask questions or, discuss something.
Absolutely. That's one reason why we love you, Michelle, because there's been times where I've reached out to you for people or for cases that we were dealing with, and she is, guys. She's amazing. Definitely contact her. It's totally worth it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So
I'll be contacting her.
we're gonna come to the end now. We want to thank you so much for being on the show and being an awesome guest, and thank you all for commenting and joining and watching tonight.
And asking amazing questions.
Yeah, the questions have been awesome tonight.
Yeah, they've been great.
And yeah, and then if you could tell everyone one more time where they can contact you.
Yeah, so actually you can call or text me 860-834-3559. I'm on Facebook, Michele Wilkins Palmieri. And also you can email me at healingmedium1@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Any one of those
Sounds
ways
good.
are fine.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
No,
and
thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, no problem. We'll definitely be in touch with you soon.
Okay, hon.
All right,
Bye,
have a
guys.
good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on to the show tonight.
Yes.
Michelle is an amazing person. We absolutely love her. And what we're going to do next is I want to give a quick shout out to Rob, Sarah, Courtney, and Trevor, who are in charge of the Get Haunted Paranormal podcast program. They've been busting their asses every week for shows like us. Every day. Yeah, it's pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And we want to thank them so much for everything they do. We love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing because you give people like us the chance to come out and meet all these amazing guests and talk with all these people on the side. I'm going to give a shout out actually to some of the podcast shows that are currently on the program, and you can catch them Monday through Sunday. There's a show literally every day. And give a shout out to them. Everyone's doing an amazing job in the program.
And before you do that, remember, go get your tickets.
Yes. Get your tickets. Here, I'll put the post.
Yes.
Supernatural Soiree.
Yeah.
October 26th. Tickets are on sale.
Absolutely. Come meet your
18
boys.
to enter, 21 to drink. That's right. There's going to be a cash bar. There's going to be a DJ. There's going to be vendors, live performers. They're going to have special guest VIPs, giveaways. It's going to be one hell of a night. And it goes till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And it's on a battleship.
A haunted battleship.
The USS New Jersey.
Yeah.
So
and the best part is you buy a ticket, you get to come meet us.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah.
And there's going to be several other teams that we know are going to be there as well. So, again, thank you all so much for joining us. And we'll be back in September with another special guest. Wait till you see who we got. All right, everyone. Have a good night.
And go watch these podcast shows.
Yes, check this list out, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.
Welcome to the night where the paranormal unite. A party like never before under the moon's airy light. The vibe is dark, the air is cold, spirits taking flight. Get haunted and ghost the magazine leading the fright. Ghosts and ghouls dancing hand in hand. Lost souls roaming the haunted land. On the battleship New Jersey